In the previous section, you discovered all about projects and how to organize your macros using modules. In this section, I'll introduce you to another organizational concept known as procedures. These are important because they form the basis of everything that you do with macros. The simplest definition of a procedure is a logical grouping of programming code used to accomplish one or more related tasks. Now, that didn't sound too formal, did it? VBA uses two types of procedures: subroutines and functions. Procedures are elemental, meaning that you cannot place procedures within procedures. For instance, you cannot put a subroutine within a function or within another subroutine. You can, however, execute one procedure from another procedure, as you'll see shortly. For now, let's jump into the Visual Basic Editor so that I can introduce you to the procedures in just a bit more depth. Let's start by opening the companion workbook for this session. If you display the macro dialog box by clicking on the Developer tab of the ribbon and then choosing Macros, you'll see that the workbook contains a couple of macros. They're listed here in the dialog box. I'm going to choose one of these macros, and then I'm going to click on the Edit button. And what happens is that we see the Visual Basic Editor on the screen. And in this case, it shows that the insertion point is blinking within the macro that we just indicated that we wanted to edit. I'd like you to notice a couple of things about what you see on the screen. First, this particular macro, Say Hello Donna, in its entirety is a procedure. In this case, it is a subroutine procedure. You can tell this because of the first line of the procedure, which begins with the sub keyword right up here at the top. The procedure ends when the end sub line is encountered, right down here at the bottom of the procedure. Everything between these two lines is part of the procedure itself. Now, below this procedure is another one called do something, but this one is different. Notice that it starts with the function keyword instead of the sub keyword. This means that it is a function procedure. It begins with the function keyword and ends with the end function line down here at the bottom of the procedure. Note that there are other parts of the sub and function lines, but these aren't important at the moment. They will be discussed in the next couple of sessions, but for now you should simply look at how these two types of procedures are different from each other and how they are similar. Both start with a special keyword, either sub or function, and both end with the end keyword. Now, earlier I mentioned that procedures are elemental. Notice that these procedures are not inside of each other. In fact, if we moved this do something function up inside of this subroutine, or vice versa, we would end up with an error when we tried to run the macro. Each procedure must stand on its own with a matching end statement for each sub or function statement. Now, I want you to notice right up here at the upper right-hand corner of the code window, there's a procedure drop-down list. And if we click on it, we see all three of the procedures that we have within this module. They aren't differentiated as subroutines or functions within this procedure drop-down list. It just lists procedures regardless of what type of procedure they are. And we can select them and work with them within this code window if we wanted to. But all three of them are visible here. Now, I don't know if you remember or not. I'm going to go back and close the Visual Basic Editor here. But back here, when we displayed the macro dialog box, the macro dialog box only listed two procedures in it. Can you remember which one is missing here? It's the do something function that is missing from this dialog box. This points up something very important. Function procedures are not listed in the macro dialog box. The only thing that's listed there are subroutine procedures, and that's why you can only see two of those within this dialog box at the moment. Procedures, regardless of whether they are subroutines or functions, are intrinsic to creating macros. When you record a macro, Excel places whatever it records into a subroutine procedure. When you create your own macros, you'll do it using both subroutines and functions. In the next 2 sessions in this section of the course, I'll focus first on subroutines and then on functions.